Before we begin, we definitely want to thank our sponsor today, and that's Frisbee Memorial Hospital, for all of their warm hospitality and their great breakfast. We also want to thank Kremen Creative for taping this event and for MetroCast for rebroadcasting it at a later date. And we also want to thank Foster's Daily Democrat and the local media who are with us today, who will be writing a great story about Rochester, I'm sure. Oh, I'm sure. I do want to remind you of just a few chamber events that are upcoming. On Monday, March 7th, we will be holding the Tri-Chamber Legislative Reception at Frisbee Memorial Hospital at 5:30 p.m. This will be an opportunity to network with state, county, and local elected officials representing the communities of Dover, Rochester, Somersworth in a very casual setting. What better way than to spend an evening with a room full of politicians? Then on March 6th, you can through March 6th, stay in great golf form by participating in the indoor golf simulator tournament taking place at the Rochester Country Club. And there is a fee of $50 per player, which includes 18 holes of golf on the widescreen golf simulators and an awards dinner which will be held on March 8th, sponsored by SK's Greenside Grill. Pre-registration with the Chamber is required before play can begin, and we encourage you to call the Chamber or visit www.rochesternh.org to register. Then on March 15th, we have the Civilian Response to Active Shooter events, which will be presented by the Rochester Police Department and held here at Frisbee Memorial Hospital. This program will provide direction and presentations on what one should do if confronted in an active shooter situation. The program will be held here from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Then on March 15th, we have a Tri-Chamber Business After Hours, which will be hosted by Convenient MD Urgent Care at their facility located at 14 Webb Place in Dover. Then on March 23rd, we have a Business After Hours, which will be co-hosted by Tacony Law and LPL Financial, Rich Hillo, to be held at 1 North Main Street on the second floor of the Citizens Bank Building in Suite 208. Then on April 2nd, be prepared to have the time of your life at the annual Dinner, Dance, and Awards Banquet from 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. at the Red Barn in South Berwick. Enjoy an evening of thanking our city services, military, and other services with dancing and entertainment, a fantastic dinner, and the naming of the 2016 Business Leader of the Year and the 2016 Citizen of the Year. Then on May 12th, we have our Community Expo, which will be held at the Rochester Arena. That'll take place from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., and businesses are offered the opportunity to exhibit their products, services, in a trade show style format to hundreds of attendees. Finally, on June 7th, we have the annual golf tournament at the Rochester Country Club with a shotgun start at 9 a.m. So mark your calendars to play in this fantastic tournament and enjoy a clam-baked dinner put on by Foster's, and the awards will be following the tournament as well. Information flyers for these events are available at the registration table today. So with that, I would like to introduce to you our sponsor for this evening and our great host, the President and CEO of Frisbee Memorial Hospital, Mr. John Marcinzik. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Welcome. This is, a fun time for us to be able to talk to the community. The more work that we put in behind the four walls across the parking lot, the more effort we have in terms of reaching out to you. And the only reason that we exist is because of you. We are here to render excellent health care and education and support to our community. We take that very seriously. We have made a lot of effort this year in trying to strengthen that community relationship, whether it be through the event coming up next week with Chief Allen, and he told me what it was, and TJ mentioned it, but I had to write it down on my napkin. The Civilian Response Active Shooter event, good job, Chief, it's the 15th, but these kind of events that we want to help develop for the community and utilize this facility, again, is just an attempt for us to try to help strengthen our community and make it stronger and healthier. We've done a lot of work with bridging the gaps. We've had the It Takes a Village sessions. We had one session a week or so ago, and we've got a couple more coming up in the near future. We have a lot of work to do as a community, and You know, there's major issues for us to work on. But there's also smaller issues that we don't want to overlook. Today, if you have a chance, before you go back, take a walk down to the main lobby of the hospital. Earlier this year, with Greg Hopkins, my partner in this project from HBL Financial, we have reached out to the 3 local high schools and said, look, you know, we have the space in the back of the lobby. We used to pay a company to come in and change the pictures on the wall. We went to the high schools and said, look, we'd like to give you that space for a month at a time. So each of the 3 high schools gets that space 3 months out of the year. In June, each month the employees vote for the winner, and the winner is going to be held out until June. And in June, we're going to have 9 winners on the wall. And we're trying to get a hold of Chronicle to come in and put this on TV for us. But the winning artist of the year is going to be given a $1,000 scholarship from Frisbee. With Greg's assistance, with the support of HBL Financial, we're going to give a $500 scholarship to each of the other 2 top students from the other 2 schools. So instead of spending $2,000 a year to change pictures on the wall, we want to get the money back into the community. And the artwork this month, if you go down there at Spalding High School, is stunning. It looks professional. It is outrageously good. The talent that we have in this community is beyond belief. And I think we get sold short sometimes on how strong and vibrant a community we have, and we need to strengthen that and keep the focus on it. Tomorrow morning, and you'll hear from Dean Graziano, we're welcoming the high school students. We've started a new medical mentoring program with the high school, and that kicks off tomorrow morning at 7:30 in the main lobby. And Dean will talk more of it, but we're trying to reach out to the community to strengthen our relationships. So I will challenge you, and I will keep challenging you, when there are opportunities, no matter how big or how small, that you can identify, that we can collaborate on to strengthen Rochester, to make ourselves stronger as a unit, to make our community healthier, smarter, stronger. We're in. You just got to communicate with us. We'll figure it out. And the one thing I will keep saying, not having resources or money is not a reason not to do the right thing. And we're going to continue to try to do the right thing for Rochester. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. We appreciate all of your help and support. All right, now to today's speaking program. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you 3 individuals who will be presenting the State of the City. We have with us this morning Mayor Caroline McCarley, City Manager Dan Fitzpatrick, and Economic Development Manager Karen Pollard. So to kick off our presentation, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the Honorable Caroline McCarley.
Well, good morning to everyone. And the first thing I'd like to say is that it is incredibly exciting to me, having been involved incredibly in this community for a long period of time and then taking a step back, to be now your mayor and come into a room where I know hardly anyone. And that is so great because it means we have so many new people here involved, dedicated to this community, and it just makes my job, I practically have to do nothing. And I should also add that John stole half of my speech, but that just means you'll be here a little bit shorter amount of time, because I do want to talk about Frisbee as a part of the address. But in thinking about a thematic for today, I was challenged by some comments I made during the campaign and in an article after the race was over about Rochester. And I think people were some people were perhaps a little bothered that I was being negative about the community. And it was actually the absolute reverse of what I was trying to say, which is that I do believe over the years Rochester has gotten a bad rap, and it has frustrated me forever. And I think there are things that people say that are simply not true, but we don't do the job we should to tell people that. So in mulling that over, not wanting to revisit anything negative, we decided to name today All About Mythbusters. So that's how we're going to start. The thematic may not carry all the way through, but you get the drift. So starting, and by the way, you don't have to look at the screen because there aren't going to be any slides from me because I don't do PowerPoints because I like to be able to look at people and make sure they're looking at me and not at a screen. So I'm not good at them. Plus the technology never works for me. So we're starting by, and I do have handouts that you can take with you later if you're remotely interested in seeing what it would have looked like on a screen. It starts with what they, in capital letters, say. Nothing to do in Rochester. What, there's a hospital in Rochester? Mediocre schools. What downtown? No job opportunities. You've heard it over the years. I know you have, no matter how short of a long time you've been here, you have heard it. So what I want to address today in the short period of time I have is busting every one of those myths. I'm going to talk a bit about our arts and culture vitality, about our great hospital, our great schools, our downtown revitalization, and then letting Karen talk more about job growth opportunities and economic development. So we're going to start briefly with our not-for-profit arts and culture industry. I've got an old stat because we did a survey several years ago, a national survey that we took part in 2011, that indicated that we have about $7.4 million in total economic activity generated from arts and culture in this city. 287 full-time positions, and in 2011, in-kind contributions valued at $144,000. So that's some activity. There's going to be a new one of these surveys coming out soon, and I can guarantee you those numbers are going to be blown off the charts. Because think about then and think about now with the new restaurants in town, the new shops in town, all that's going on, and there is no question the vibrancy of this community in terms of arts and culture is amazing. I'm going to just run through very quickly, and it's not a short list, it could be a lot longer, but just to mention where this activity comes from. The Rochester Opera House, Rochester Museum of Fine Arts, Art Esprit, Rochester Fair, Main Street, the Public Library, Granite State Choral Society, Spalding Music and Fine Arts Department, Stratford County Wind Symphony, Rochester Historical Society, Roger Allen Park. And in addition to all of those, we have entities like Festivents and the Governor's Inn that's bringing in thousands of people to events. I feel like we're practically the music mecca of the world and always have been, but we just don't let people know enough about it. And I know I'm leaving folks out, and I apologize for that, but I was told I didn't have that much time. So now let's move on to Frisbee. I'm going to read through, I do have to read them because I couldn't commit them to memory, but a few bullet points that I think we all know that Frisbee's here, we know they do a lot of things, but I decided to get a few specific facts and then talk a little bit more about the spirit that comes from here. Frisbee was the first hospital in New England to realize the need of our fragile elderly community and put an inpatient geropsychiatric unit, and it is still one of only 3 in the entire state. This was years ago. They had the foresight to know this is serious. We need to have a place for our fragile elderly to get good mental health care. They were selected by GE to be the first hospital to offer its leading-edge technology CT scanner. And now, more than 50 hospitals from across the country have come to Frisbee to see exactly how this works. In 2014, Consumer Reports gave Frisbee top scores for hospital safety for the 2nd year in a row. The Frisbee Center for Wound Excellence is the only center to earn the Center of Excellence Award 3 years in a row. The Community and Education Facility, where we are right now, is the only facility in the state dedicated to health promotion and disease prevention. And the food service group here is now dedicated to using locally sourced ingredients and even has its own garden. I think there is no question this is an outstanding facility and an outstanding community partner. Now, John touched on, and he stole my show, I was going to send you down to see the art exhibit because I've already been. But also, I want to mention in the close about Frisbee, and some of you may know this, I don't know, but John has taken it upon himself to say There is no reason why some of our most challenged citizens who are homeless should not have supper on Saturday night, because nobody's gotten around to it. And he has taken it upon himself to set up the opportunity to provide suppers on Saturday night, location to be determined. You'll hear more in about a week. But I think it's the indication, as John just said, this is the community we are, and we take care of all of us in this community. John's going to want volunteers, and I can tell you, I have no doubt he will have any trouble getting them. So you'll be hearing more about it from him very shortly. Finally, some of you may remember, hopefully you don't, I was on the school board for a very long time here. So schools are kind of my own personal passion, I admit. And therefore, the frustration of being on a school board and people saying, what are you doing in your schools, has always been there. So I just took a couple of points that I want to mention before I turn this over to two folks from the Technology Center. But I don't know how many of you know, and this is going to sound a little bit like EduSpeak, and I know how I feel about EduSpeak. I hate it, so I've tried to translate it a little bit, but the underlying what this is about is incredibly important and impressive. Rochester's been chosen of one of 4 districts in the state, largest district in the state, but I might also add, in the nation, to be able to do a project called Performance Assessment in Competency Education. Now that sounds like, but what we're really talking about doing is helping students develop the skills and innovative thinking they need to succeed in the 21st century. We all complain about too much standardized testing. This is an opportunity to get away from some of those standardized tests, to have worked on the competencies children need to succeed out there in the world, give them some real-life scenario work, and have assessments in place that determine if they're not getting there, what can we do to go back and get them there. And I can tell you that this is not, it's an amazing program. And what you need to know, and this is coincidence and an aside and sort of extraordinary how the world works, this is not an education fad that's out there that we've, like New Math back in the old days. I work for a very, very large global publisher. We publish the leading edge, cutting research in medicine, in chemistry, in physics, in accounting, in finance, and in education. And we are about to, and this obviously had nothing to do with me, but we are about to publish the first journal on competency-based education. And it is because it is becoming what they are doing in our colleges and moving down into our lower schools. And Rochester is the leading district on this. The two have nothing to do with one another, but that's how real this is. And that's how cool this program is. So our staff deserves an enormous amount of credit for taking this on 2 or 3 years ago, before it was even being discussed, and coming up with this and getting US DOE to sign off and say, do this, let's see. So I cannot applaud them enough, and I feel like they don't get enough credit for it. East Rochester School. If you haven't been there, please try and go. This community came together, and we have produced an extraordinary educational facility that if you walk in the door there and you're 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 years old, you're going to want to be there to learn. The staff has always been there, but they've now got the surroundings and the climate and the atmosphere just amazing. Please go see it. The Magnet School continues to attract attention, looking at a program-based student learning and extended school days. Again, being regarded across the nation, we get calls about it, what's happening, how are the students doing, great program. And finally, I want to talk about, well, I don't actually, you'll be pleased to know, I'm going to have two folks come talk about the Credo Technology Center and what is going on there. And I'm going to challenge all of you. I'm going to leave this as a question. If I have time, I'll answer at the very end. But I've been asked recently, why is it called the Credo Technology Center? Now, some of us would go, you've got to be kidding me. But I'll get back to that later, just in case you don't know the answer. I'd now like to introduce Sean Peschel, the director, and Dean Graziano, the Extended Learning Opportunities Director, to talk a little bit about this. But I'm going to say something as they walk up here. I know some of you have heard them before, but repetition is great in case you have. But I do want to say what I understand my granddaughter gets told quite frequently at preschool. Her name is Lucy Claire. Lucy Claire, put your listening ears on. Because Sean has a tendency to fly through his presentations. So I just thought I'd give that little caveat, and once you guys are done, I've got like 2 minutes and then I'll be finished.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate your time. Thank you for inviting us to speak to the crowd and speak to the group here and be a part of your address. As Mayor McFarland mentioned, I do speak a little quickly, but I've tried to slow that down and take some time to think my thoughts through before sharing them. But going along with many of our themes of myth busting and partnerships and community building and success and initiative building and being the first in the nation, first in the state, one of the things that we're working on at the Tech Center this year, or the motto of our Tech Center this year is education is advocacy, and advocacy is education. You know, you're gonna get more, attract more flies with honey than with vinegar type thing. So the idea of we need to be positively talking about what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and be wholeheartedly behind what we're doing. So part of the myth busting piece is many of you may have remembered back to your years of education, the idea of vocational education. Yes, vocational education, also known as VOCED, okay? And those VOCED classes may have been shop classes, may have been dirty. You think about those VOC classes as maybe the greasers from the novel The Outsiders, or maybe Arthur Fonzarelli, the Fonz from Happy Days, which were all at that time, when VOCED was around, that's kind of what it was. It was down in the basement, that wing out back, the auto guys, the plumbing guys. Career Tech Ed has changed. Or VOCED has now changed. It's now career technical education. When the VOC Center was built, or the Tech Center was built, back in 1991, it was the Vocational Center. We now are the Credo Technology Center. We're the Credo Vocational Center, but now the Credo Technology Center. And what is it now? What do we do? What do we provide our students? It's more of lab-based classes compared to shop. We now have more technical skills and terminology, and the ability for students to translate that technological terminology to common folk talk. The edge of speaking we talked about, that Mayor McFarland mentioned. We're working with our students to have them become more critical thinking, improving their critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, and working with diagnostics, figuring out what's wrong, why is it wrong, and how can we make it better? How can we improve it? We've heard from our industry partners and our business partners that I don't want to have people come to me with problems. I want them to come with me with a problem, but also some solutions for that problem. So we initiate that every day with my staff to myself, and with the students to the staff. You many times hear the terminology, thinking out of the box. In my opinion, overly used. At the Technology Center, what do? We build new boxes to think in. So the idea, okay, it's good to be out there, but we want to, let's create new stuff. Let's grow from here. We're working also to have students be college and career ready. So it's not just ready for the career path. We're doing the college and career readiness skills to have students be prepared for high wage and high demand jobs. We're also preparing students to be ahead of those among them. For example, students leaving our engineering program are going to be ahead of students who did not have that 2-year experience during their junior and senior year of high school. Studies have shown and studies have proven that if you give students the exposure earlier, they're going to be more prepared for later. Many students that enter college in the engineering field don't complete their first year. They maybe stop right after their first semester. But students that have participated in career tech programming or participated in this experience are better prepared to move on and be more successful. We do all of this through building our partnerships with business, industry, and post-secondary partners, many of which are in the room today, and we appreciate you for being here and being a part of us. To mention a few, we've partnered with Frisbee, the Holy Rosary Credit Union, the Chamber of Commerce here in Rochester, the Rotary Club here in Rochester, Great Bay Community College, both the Rochester ATAC campus and the Portsmouth campus, Federal Savings, the City of Rochester, namely the Mayor's Office, the Rochester Economic Development Organization, Nantucket Bead Board, and many, many more that I could list but don't have time to list type thing. It's these partnerships that we're able to have students be prepared for the workforce, for what they're going to be needing in the field, in the industry. We are the pipeline for your next level or your next wave of employment. And we want to work with you and know what we can do to have our students be better prepared for the workplace and for college both. On the college route, we're required, or a part of it is to have Running Start credit attached to our courses or attached to our programs. What does Running Start credit mean? It's college credit and high school credit at the same time for reduced cost. So what does that look like? Our major partner is Great Bay Community College, but we also partner with Lakes Region Community College in Laconia, Manchester Community College, Nashville Community College, and Southern New Hampshire University over in the Manchester area. Those courses on those college campuses are roughly $600 to $800 in cost. By offering it as a running start course on our high school campus, the high school teacher, or the tech teacher, becomes the adjunct professor, and that cost of tuition is reduced to $150. So we brought down from 6 to 8 to 150. I also want to plug too, the school board, Rochester School Board last spring, voted to give us the charge, or the challenge, to grow the number of running start courses we offer, and also grow the number of students enrolled in those courses. And we've done that this year. And the support they provided us is to help economically support some of those students, or support all of the students that are part of Running Start. So that $600 to $800 being brought down to $150 is now being brought down to $50 per family per course, because the Rochester School District is kicking in $100 per student per course, which is awesome. We really appreciate that. And a quick little data point too, comparing the high school roster to the college roster, that students have to choose to take on the college portion of it. So there's a high school roster and college roster. Last year, whole school year, only 33% of the students went from that high school roster onto the college roster. Right now, this year, halfway through the school year, we're already at 66%. So it's grown mostly because of the financial support and also the big push from the community, internally and externally, to have this happen for them. And lastly, just want to mention too, is the idea that, I've only been on staff for a year and a half at the Tech Center in Rochester. And when I first came on campus, working with the staff members, talking with them, like, what do you see? What's the vision or direction you want to see this center go? Hands down, every one of them responded with, people need to know what we're doing. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're kind of like the Wonka factory of Rochester. No one knows what we do. And talking with Mayor McCarley and talking with all these people, a year ago when I could have been in this room, I knew nobody, maybe just Jen Marsh from Economic Development. I know a good chunk of all of you in the room, which is awesome, and good feelings to feel, because we're getting out there, we're having the exposure, we're having the students be in the field, having you come into the centers and work with our students. And I want to put it out there as a challenge to you guys, is all of you that can, at some point in time, please call us, make a connection, email us. We'd be glad to tour you through our center, see what's going on. We've got 15 different programs in action, all 2-year programming, junior and senior year, all offering Running Start credit, all offering internships and job shadow experiences. So we want to make sure you get in there and see what's happening and what's going on. We're touring all of our 5th grade students through, we're touring all of our 8th grade students through, planting those seeds. You plant the seed, you add the water, add the sunshine, and then when they graduate, that's when we reap our harvest, and when they get the benefits of what they've gone through during their experience with us. So again, thank you for your time. I'm going to now hand it over to our ELO coordinator, Dean Graziano, who will say a few words about some specific programming that we have offered in our center right now.
Thank you, Sean. The first thing is, what is ELO? Because I thought Electric Light Orchestra when they actually told it, and I'm not trying to be funny. I said, what does that mean? It's extended learning opportunities. And in a nutshell, it's the experiences and really the knowledge you get outside of the classroom. Job shadows, internships are just a small part of that. We've had record number of internships this year in terms of students that are coming forward and saying they want to do something outside of the school to help further my career. One I'd like to underscore because it's truly unique, it's the first in New Hampshire. A junior approached me her sophomore year when I had her for homeroom, Abigail Turgeon, and said, I want to go to law school like you did, I want to do this. I'm like, great, what's next? Well, let's get an internship. Okay, let's find a way in which you can get civics, local government, politics, and really leadership that you just can't get in a regular classroom. Abigail came to me, let's prepare a resume, let's prepare the interview skills. I didn't want to put anyone in front of Mayor McCarley that wasn't top shelf. Abigail, I think, performed in that fashion. She's the only student in New Hampshire's history to actually be a working intern with a mayor during school and getting high school credit, which most likely will be applicable towards college as well. So that's just one small thing of what we do. There are 2 extended learning opportunity initiatives I'm going to share very briefly with you because I know there's a lot more to go. One is the medical mentoring program, and I kind of tried to be whimsy with it, or witty, and came up with Fridays at Frisbee. What's happening tomorrow at 7:30? 13 selected students via an application process are actually departing before school normally starts to get on a bus to come to Frisbee Memorial Hospital. They will be partnered every other Friday for 4 sessions with an expert in the field, a mentor. These are students that are juniors and seniors. We already have some seniors that are literally accepted to nursing programs already or something in the healthcare industry. So they're very excited to get this experience and knowledge before they even enter a college classroom. For juniors, it's helping them solidify what they want to do maybe next year or the year after. So it's kind of like tasting what you're going to get before actually jumping into the deep end. It's an amazing program, and I want to say thank you very much, John, for allowing us to have that opportunity. The second initiative is something that came about for skills-based. It's called the Passport to Destinations program. And I too, like Sean, am the new guy, and I've partnered with some great people already. What this program is, isn't just about putting up a sign, and it's kind of the old Blue Eagle NRA thing. It looks something like this. Okay, I know I should have had it blown up, but this will be the poster that'll be in businesses and organizations. In a nutshell, juniors and seniors will come to me and say, I have a need because I want to do an internship, so I want a resume and a cover letter before we put you in front of people. But I also have freshmen and sophomores that say, hey, Mr. G, when's your next job fair? And when you talk about economic development and growing back, we've gotten 54 students jobs since September with the mini job fairs that we have because Rochester businesses are coming in and interviewing on the spot our kids. Some of them needed laptops or doing online. Again, so shout out to Federal Savings, they donated iPads so our students can actually sit there in front of Kmart or Walmart or Home Depot and do an online application. These are just some of the things that we're providing within the school. Albany came in last year and said, I want to look at 2 of your best students. To give home court advantage to our students, we had them interview in the tech center, the conference center. Emily's in the room, and I think she'll attest that she did last August in front of the 3 cities. These students are outstanding workers. And to have them come back the year after they graduate and talk to the engineering program about how great Albany is and how it was wonderful that they had the interview and the resume skills done in the school, that was just a home run. So the Passport program is nothing more than asking businesses, as John has asked, as we've pleaded, to make a connection. It doesn't mean you have to do anything more up front. What it says is that when our students are ready to come to you, it's an advocacy base. A 9th grader that says, I just want to look at McDonald's for my first job. Well, you need to advocate. It can't be Mr. G always calling your parents. So, is Mr. Smith available? Is this a good time? When can I make an appointment? It might be a student that wants to do a job shadow that actually comes to me and says, I've already prepared the work, just do the paperwork with me, Mr. G. It's having our students get those advocacy skills that put them above everybody else. And again, I'll go back to you, Emily. You were very impressed with the fact that our students have that edge. When 54 kids get jobs because they're saying this is the first time the earplugs are out, they're not on their phone and chewing gum, their hats are off. We are experts at Rochester Schools at teaching and learning. You're the experts at what you want your employees to do. This program is nothing more than asking you when it's time, and they've gone through almost the stamp of a passport, the skills necessary, and they approach you. You say, yeah, come on, how can we help? So hopefully you'll be seeing me, because when my third quarter class gets done, at fourth quarter off, I'll be out every day trying to get these posters out and explain it, and hoping that all of you will participate. Thank you very much.
So, I will conclude. I realize I'm out of time, but I am actually a Pollyanna to some degree. But I do want to say one more thing that we have in front of us. And that is this opioid heroin crisis. And it is a crisis. It's not something that's always been going on. We're just hearing about it. It is serious. It is a huge challenge for us. And the thing that worries me the most is that people want to do something. And what we've got to do as a community, because there are limited resources to be tackling this. Our police department, EMTs doing a great job, Frisbee doing a great job. The Bridging the Gaps folks are doing these forums, really important. We have the Safe Schools Healthy Students grant that we got a couple of years ago that's trying to knit together all of the resources in this community and outside of this community to make sure we're not duplicating, because God forbid we don't have time for that, because it's that serious. But I think we can do this, and I think with all of the volunteerism and sense of community here, that's how we, more than any other community, can get at this, because I think we do care about our community, and we do care about each other. So what I want to ask you to do as my final is I want you to keep telling the rest of the world. And there's an expression now down at the Cask and Grind, I'm sure you've seen it if you go to a cup of coffee, you happen to have an extra $2, paste it on the window, pay it forward so somebody that can't afford that cup of coffee can come in and get it, and they'll remember that and repay that kindness. But I'm going to slightly flip it and say, speak it forward. I want all of you out there talking about Rochester. Thank you. Oh, and Dan Fitzpatrick's now coming, because I
you need to know, busting myths about Rochester. So obviously I got the memo on the topic for today. And it's funny, I have to tell you a story first, but I'm going to go to this slide. Oops, next. All right, so I think it's important, and I always try to use this forum, this State of the City forum, to update everyone's perspective. And I kind of characterize this as a friendly audience. I know a lot of you, we've worked together for a long, long time. But every once in a while, even I get surprised by a comment someone will make about the city or something a little outdated that I have the opportunity to correct. But yesterday I had the situation where somebody that I had met for the first time said, "Oh, I know, you're from Rochester. I know about Rochester." And I said, "Really? When was the last time you were there?" And they said, "Oh, Dick Green was mayor." And I said, "Oh, you know, a lot has changed. A lot has changed about Rochester in that amount of time. Let me tell you some of the things that have changed." So it is very important for us not only to take that opportunity when it faces us like it did to me yesterday, but also to keep ourselves well informed about the things that are going on. And as you've already heard in just the mayor's speech and with our other two guests from the tech center, there is so much going on. We're all going to have to be really fast talkers to get through the rest of what we have. So, you know, how do these misconceptions occur? A lot of times it is outdated information, the use of statistical jargon, conflicting data, my favorite urban legends. I mean, we've all had that gossip, those conversations where people say, "Oh, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that?" Quite often, as we know, those are not true statements, or they're partially true, maybe not 100%. You really have to watch out when those things are coming up. But and again, there's that bias. Did anyone ever have listened to somebody say something about Rochester, and you said, "Well, where is that coming from? Do they have some issue with Rochester that we need to know about?" Again, this presentation is going to give you actual data so that when that happens, you have the tools to say, "You know what? Whoa, hold on a minute. This is the correct information. This is what you need to know." The city is doing fantastic, and there's a lot of reasons why that is. A little bit about our community profile. Our age distribution is certainly improved. We are not all just older folks, although our median age is 41 and a half years. That's a little bit better than some communities around us and a little bit less than others. We are kind of in a happy spot. 41 and a half is a great workforce age to have. Median household income, $48,114. And again, I've broken it down for anyone who's interested in these slides. They will be posted on the internet later. And I do have a copy for Foster's because we want those presentations. We want everything quoted to be correct, don't we? So anyway, I've got the breakdown of the wages here. All of this data is from the US Census, but rather than you have to go look it up yourself, we've aggregated all that for you. Our office does this for property owners and real estate folks all the time. So if any of you have a need for it for your HR department, if you're recruiting, anything like that, please let our office know. Top location factors. What is it that brings businesses to Rochester, and what are they looking for? The number one issue is something we've already been talking about this morning, and that's workforce and specialized education. That is the number one hotspot for employers right now. People are looking for talent. I brought our poster here, so I'm saying the same thing John Marzinzik said. I'm saying the same thing the mayor said. I'm saying the same things our business folks are saying. A lot of you in this room have told me your greatest challenge is I need to grow my business. I need more people. I need the right people. So that is one of the top keys to getting businesses to locate in Rochester. Infrastructure and maintenance is also critical. Dan's going to talk a little bit about that as he talks in his presentation. But we are investing in ourselves, and that is key. Businesses want to see a community that invests in itself, in its streets, in its bridges, in its water system. Cost of operations is another key factor. And to this, we have Energy. Our great partners from Eversource are here in the room. And we need to get the cost of energy down for our businesses. We need to do more about supply to meet the ever-growing demand of our businesses. State tax structure, again, we can't control that here, but we do have a lot to say about keeping the state in as solvent a position as possible, keeping its debts paid and its budget balanced. Incentives, we don't have a lot of incentives, but the ones we do have, we need to make good use of. There should never be a time where we haven't talked about what is available for a business to utilize if there is something available. In the cost of building a new facility, and again, we're fairly competitive with other states and regions in the Northeast. So in balance, looking at this, where are we strong, where can we improve, and where are we being as competitive as possible? I do want to talk about the economic impact of education a little bit. The fact that somebody has some college or an associate's degree will earn 50% more than someone who only has a high school diploma, because that many more job opportunities are available to them. But having a bachelor's degree will allow them to earn more than double that of someone who has a high school diploma. So some college is great, a four-year degree will add even more earning ability to that person. Governor Hassan has a 65-25 initiative that's recently been unrolled, so that by 2025, the goal is to have 65% of all adult New Hampshire residents having some college, the ability to earn more, and the ability to fill those high demand jobs where skills are needed. And again, that comes with some college, some training after high school. Educational attainment in Rochester, we actually have quite a lot of folks with some college or bachelor's degrees or even graduate degrees. It adds up to 52%. So more than half of the folks in Rochester as adults have some college as it is now, which means that they are able to fill those jobs in companies that are growing. Looking at employment, this is for what's called the Metro NECTA, and I hate to use jargon, but this is a case where I can't avoid it. The Metro NECTA is the New England City-Town data about employment, because we are not our own bubble of employment, businesses and employees. We have a region that we are part of, and that includes a good chunk of Stratford County. As you can see, our employment has continued to grow as we've come out of the recession. However, our labor force really has not grown and has actually come down a little bit. In Rochester alone, you can see that the available number of people has remained relatively level. Again, the workforce hasn't grown, whether that's due to some retirements or other adjustments in the workforce. However, the number on the top of the bars is the unemployment rate. So we've gone from 5.9% unemployment in 2011 at the height of the recession down to 2.7% now. A tremendous difference, but again, we're not growing that workforce. So where are the new people going to come from that are going to make our businesses grow? If we want Albany International to add 200 people, where are those 200 people going to come from? We've got to get them into the workforce. So was that a good number? We know that they want more people. And the people aren't going to come just from Rochester, but we certainly want to be doing our fair share of getting folks into great employment opportunities like that. Property values will grow when our businesses are growing. These are just commercial and industrial property values. I've pulled the housing out for this particular slide so that you can see that in 2015, we are getting 29.78%, almost 30% of our city is commercial and industrial, and that's related to the value in dollars of the city, not the number of properties or the number of acres, versus 18.56 in 2006. And I remember when TJ became mayor and we had conversations about how much of the city overall, what is the balance we're looking for between housing and in commercial industrial development. We were shooting for 25%, that was our goal. Well, we've clearly exceeded that. We've made it to 30%, which is great. That's not our final goal, but we've come a long way in value, going from about 300 million, and now we're just short of $600 million, $589 million versus 418 was right in here. So when you go down to 2003, that was just over 300 million. So a lot of value added, a lot of new construction. If you're driving around regularly, you're seeing it. But I would challenge each of you to take a different route home or a different route to work and see what's happening in parts of the city you don't visit often, because it is quite remarkable what has happened over time. Building permits, this year was an amazing year for building permits. And again, these are just industrial and commercial, or what are called non-residential building permits. The blue part of the bar are new buildings that permits have been pulled for, and the red part are alterations, repairs, and other types of permits like mechanical, plumbing, that belong to non-residential properties. This year, 2012, was the year that Albany and Saffron pulled their building permit for their new 9-acre building over in the industrial park. So if you're wondering what the heck happened that year, that's what happened. This year, as I think most of you are aware, on Route 11, under construction is the new shopping center. So what you see in the blue is partially related to that, but there are other buildings in there as well. And then these alterations are just all over the city, just all over, month by month. As you look at the numbers, they kept growing and growing and growing. And so this has really been a record year for the number of permits and the breadth of what's going on in the city. Housing diversity, there's another rumor that we don't have, that a lot of our housing is bad and low, and why would somebody want to move here? We actually have some, oops, I went to, how do I go back? There. Okay. We do have some adjustments in housing diversity now. Half of our homes are single-family homes, and this was just updated yesterday by assessing for me. So again, a lot of this data that you have me delivering comes from a lot of different departments in the city, because we all have to work together on all of these issues. And certainly assessing and building, zoning, and licensing services have a lot to do when it comes to quality and standards in our housing. 50% of our housing in Rochester is single family. 20% is manufactured housing, either on private land or in a park. So that would be also known as mobile homes, but of course some of them are definitely big manufactured homes. They're not necessarily what you're used to seeing in a park. Multifamily is about 23% of our housing inventory, which some of that is older and some is newer. I actually prepared a slide on it, but decided that we had too many other things to talk about other than the age of housing stock. Condos are only 16%. So certainly as we add new homes, and these are housing permits for just the past 18 months, as you'll see, apartments are the blue, and here they don't separate condos out from apartments. So we have lots of apartments being developed, still lots of single family, and fewer on the manufactured housing side, which I think is perfectly in keeping with demand. of what people are looking for. So really what I think we're seeing is that the market is meeting the demand. We have to keep approving of these developments as they're coming up, because that diversity of housing adds to our workforce, which we have already shown we need to increase our workforce. So more housing is on the way, and we need even more to come forward, but in a measured way. Downtown investment, I get asked a lot of questions about downtown, and having visited a lot of other communities in Rochester, or in New Hampshire and Massachusetts lately, I'll say that while we certainly could be doing better, we are certainly not at the bottom of the barrel at all. We have some great new restaurants and businesses to visit. Since we became a Main Street community in 2006, we've had 812 building projects as counted by the building permits for $10 million of new investment in our downtown in 10 years. That is actually 9 years. And that is a very impressive number, and I think this year is going to be significantly more. And I want to thank Rochester Main Street and Mike Provost for giving us this information at his annual meeting just a couple of weeks ago. We had 88 projects during 2015, totaling $2 million. So $2 million in new investment, and a lot of that was related to housing in the downtown district, which we need people to be living in the downtown to help revitalize those businesses in downtown. The investment ratio, or the ratio of city investment to private investment, for every $1 that the city has spent, it returns $29.04. Now, if my retirement account did that, I would be retired right now. But this is a phenomenal number to have as your investment ratio. It exceeds the national average by quite a lot, and as far as I know, it's also the best one in New Hampshire. So we are really making the most, leveraging those investments of public money to private money. And also the annual revenue increase for downtown is $361,000 every single year that has been returned to the public coffers in the form of property tax. We do have some specific targets, and I want to cover this because we do have opportunities, and you never know who might pass on the word of what we're looking for in downtown. We are looking for retail stores, which include things like art to wear, jewelry, artisans, upscale consignment, and galleries. What we're looking for are unique destination businesses that will make our downtown different than anyone else's. So when people say, well, we should do what Portsmouth does, or we should do what Dover does, or we should do what someone else is doing, well, that's fine. Those are good ideas to talk about. But let's focus on what is unique and special about Rochester and our downtown and what we want it to be like. Restaurants and cafes are still a focus. We have some great ones. We want to have more. And we also want to encourage outdoor dining. That outdoor dining aspect, if you've been to a community that has some nice outdoor dining, it really adds a vitality to the streetscape that is exciting and makes people want to be there. So we are hopeful that the passage of the outdoor dining ordinance this year will add to our downtown vitality and energy on the street. Consumer services are very important in a downtown because, again, that brings people to that core district, such as fitness centers and salons. And then finance, insurance, and real estate, which, downtown is already our financial district. That is where most of the banks are located, although there's Bank of New Hampshire, not leaving you out. There's a core group of those folks already in downtown, and that's a great location for convenience of our consumers. Our community values. One of the things that I really try to impress people who haven't been to Rochester in 20 years or longer is that this community has very strong values. And we really pride ourselves on a number of things, including investment in ourselves. In all of the years that I've been here, the city has continued to make hard choices, but continue to invest in infrastructure, in education, and I think the mayor did a great job of highlighting East Rochester School, which was certainly an investment, but it was a choice to make about the future, and this city chose to invest. In public safety, we've got a great presence of our police here today and our fire department, and you know, they do a hard job every day, and it's because we continue to invest in those people and their tools that we can all feel safe every day. And in arts and culture, the mayor also talked a little bit about that. We will be redoing that survey, that Arts and Economic Impact Survey this year. We'll be starting it actually this month. So we'll be getting an update on the economic impact of the arts, but we know that that has grown significantly in the last 5 years. We care deeply about our community and about each other. We care about the people that we know and meet. I don't know how many hugs I gave out this morning, but it was great to see some happy and familiar faces, because I see you on a regular basis. Because you come and you show up at events like this to know what's going on. We care about our physical environment. We want development, but we want to balance our development with preservation of open space. We want beautiful parks for our people to enjoy. And we have waterways that need protection as well. And we really care about our partnerships with others. We talked about the hospital a little bit, but there are so many of you in this room that the city has a strong partnership with for one reason or another, and it's to the mutual benefit of all of us. It's truly that win-win situation that, that makes a difference for all of us, and that's unique to Rochester. I've worked a lot of places. I haven't seen that level of caring in other locations. And that we're willing to work hard. There's not one person here or in this city that I've ever spoken to that wasn't willing to roll up their sleeves and give it a shot when necessary. And even though it meant hard work, or it was an uphill battle, or any other you know, cliche that you want to put to it, people are willing to work hard. So what is our civic story? I actually was reading an article in The Atlantic by a guy named James Fallows, and it was talking about communities, and are your efforts today connected to what you hope for tomorrow? And in Rochester, I can definitely say yes. We have a lot of hopes and expectations about the future, and we are connecting our efforts today to what we want in the future. We want a future in advanced manufacturing, and we've put a lot of investment into making that happen. And we've got the educational components, and we've got the schools, and we've got the businesses that are all partnering together in that direction. We want to continue to be a magnet for talent, and that's where getting the word out comes in. We've got to get the word out that this is a community that people who are looking for an exciting future for themselves and their families want to be. And we need to be welcoming to those folks to help them move in here. And that we're stable and growing financially, and again, Dan's going to talk about that. This is a community that lives and works the American dream. This is a place where you can come and work hard and really reap the rewards of your hard work. So that is the conclusion of my portion. And now Dan will come up and do his portion.
Laura, is this over at 9? Oh, when? Well, I decided to go last because I figured by the time I'm finished, you're going to want to get out of here. So, some of it's going to be the same format as last year because I do feel an obligation to update you on finances and stuff. But we are trying to vary it. We'll pass on some more information. Pretty much as last year, just a little note on city finances. If we're not taking care of our own house, we can't take care of your house. Unfortunately, everything runs on money, and the city needs to have it. Just a note on our 3 items. Our bond ratings have continued to be strong. The city has underwent financial reviews by both Moody's and Standard & Poor's. The Moody's rating was upgraded last year from A1 to AA3, and it's staying there. It's always good when an outside certifying agency confirms that you're doing a very good job with your finances. Standard & Poor's increased our upgrading the same way. They use a little bit, they use different acronyms from AA- to AA. And this is just what they said in their report. Strong management with good financial policies and practices. Let me see, where am I? There we are. I got to learn to click these things. Good financial practices, very strong liquidity, I'll talk about that, and very strong debt and contingent liability positions. Those are the bond rating agencies. So when we borrow money, that's what the lenders look at. But every single year, by statute, we have an audit, and we have an unmodified opinion when you do an audit. When you have an audit done, they'll give you 2 types of opinion. Modified one says, well, we looked at it, but we've got to modify it because the books aren't really kept properly. We can't really tell you whether they're accurate or not. When you get an unmodified opinion, there isn't any buts. It just says these are the books, and our unmodified opinion has always been strong for the last several years. By consistently spending less than taken in, the city has a positive fund balance. I'm going to talk about that and what's really used for. The fund balance is what's available to manage the city's tax rate. And the New Hampshire Municipal Association recommends that your fund balance be between 8% and 17% of your total gross appropriations. Our fund balance is a little over that. It's 17.9. Now, the fund balance, for any business person knows, that's our operating capital. Every business knows that you need to have operating capital on a day-to-day basis. It also serves as a contingency fund. I'll be showing you later on a pedestrian bridge over Route 125, but if anyone noticed during the winter, we were able to surprise in December that the pedestrian bridge was deficient. And as you know, many of our kids walk that bridge to school on a daily basis. I have to commend the Department of Public Works. Within a day, they had that bridge blocked off and an alternative passageway created for the children to walk. And the City Council had the flexibility through its fund balance to authorize, I think we spent $250,000 to have a new bridge constructed off-site. And I think we had it placed by the end of January. It was a very fast and efficient process. The fund balance allows the city to react quickly to emergency. A couple of years ago, the City Council had the flexibility to appropriate a great deal of funds for the school department when they had to upgrade their buildings for increased security. As you know, we have a tax cap that was passed by the voters in 2008. It's basically composed of two items, the increase of inflation and net new construction. So we were pretty worried this year. I'll be very honest. Blaine and I agonized over it during the summer. It was like, holy cow, we don't have any inflation. We're going to get killed. Well, we had another thing going on that made up for that. And Karen's chart showed it, alluded to it, and Karen's chart was just under $30 million. We actually had it in 2016, 33.6, and our estimate for this year is 34, and that's a conservative estimate. It'll probably hit it a little higher. So in 2017, we're basically saying we're going to have a minimum of 34 million. That's the fiscal year ending in a couple of weeks. No, that's for next year. But if you saw the amount of applications that are in the planning department right now, it's scary. We're actually talking about, I haven't talked about this with the governing body, and I probably won't yet, it's a little early, but just scuttlebutt that goes on in my office is, do we need another planner? That's how much work is upstairs. Look at the planning board agenda for next week. I was talking with Ralph Tor, the chairman of the zoning board. No, I was talking to Nell, the chairman of the planning commission, and he's looking at his agenda and he's going, oh, it's going to be a long night. The planning board is going to have a lot of long nights coming up because they've got a lot of work. And the construction is everything. It's commercial, it's industrial, it's residential. And within residential, it's apartments and single-family dwelling units. I tend to get a little ahead of myself. That would have been last year's talk, and I will stop. But I said I wanted to go a little bit further. So, okay, according to the Department of Revenue, the city of Rochester ranked 3rd in the entire state for total property transfers in 2015. The only cities that ranked higher to us in property transfers were Nashua and Manchester. In 2014, we were 4th. Concord was ahead of us. Now, those are all transfers, not arm's length transfers. Those are all property transfers. Those are the actual statistics. From multiple listings, the data shows, let me see if I get this out, that multiple listing service sales shows that appreciating values from 2012 to 2015 for Rochester increased by 16%. Total arm's length sales through the multiple listings have increased 35% from 242 sales in 2012 to 328 sales in 2015. Market time, amount of time that something stays on the market, has decreased from 95 days to 72 days. I look for these markers all the time. Just what's going on that tells me what's going on out there? Because believe me, it comes back to all of our city services. And we have another chart on that, which basically shows the 2012, 13, 14, and 15 average days on the market, average sales price in 1,000, and number of sales, and you can see the large increase from in 2015. Summary. The DRA data shows that Rochester has a very active real estate market. The MLS data shows that Rochester's real estate market is prospering and growing. Stratford County's average sale price for 2012 was $205,000, increasing 17%. Rochester's average sale price from 2012 to 2015 is more affordable than the the average. Public Works, the unsung heroes of city staff. With all due deference to my police and firemen. The public works guys and gals are the ones who are to the side. You know, when there's a public emergency, no one sees them. They're off to the side. They're the ones at the barriers. They're the ones who the cops need and the firemen need. We have 176 miles of city streets, 165 paved, 11 unpaved. We have 30 miles of sidewalks, 30 plus actually. We have 18 bridges, 34 signalized intersections, 20 city, 14 state. We have a $2.48 million operating budget and a $10.4 million capital budget. This is what your staff manages on a day-to-day basis. This is an interesting stat that we presented to the City Council last year when we started talking about a new DPW facility. And it basically shows that it compares Rochester's DPW to other DPWs throughout the state. It tells us how many highway staff per 1,000 residents, and as you can see, we compare very, very well. Rochester is 50% below the average, and that's the first column, and you people see what they do every single day. The Public Works Department does more with less than any Public Works Department in the state, and I'll stand behind that. While still investing in our infrastructure, we have 50 plus active projects right now, totaling $45 million. The annual street reconstruction or pavement program is $2 million. Recent completions, Chesley Hill Road reconstruction, Sheridan Glen Knight neighborhood, pending projects for this year. Stafford Square roundabout. You won't see city crews there this summer, but you'll see the utility work will be started to be relocated. Salmon Falls Milton Road. That's actually water and sewer extension. We're going to be investing $4 million down Milton Road this summer. That's when the project starts. That's $2 million paid for by the federal government to bring water and sewer down Milton Road. $500,000 is coming from Market Basket, and the city is going to be investing approximately $1.5 million, maybe a little bit more, but because the bids haven't come in yet. But that's going to bring water and sewer to as far as the Stonewall Kitchens outlet. That's going to open up the whole Milton Road corridor to development, and we're doing it because Market Basket's throwing in $500,000. It's a public-private partnership, so we're taking $2 million and leveraging it into $4 million. Other projects this summer: Franklin and Western Avenue reconstruction, Phase 2, Woodman, Myrtle, Congress Streets, and the Colonial Pines sewer expansion. This is just to give you an idea of the Stratford Square roundabout project, and everything in red is what's going to be relocated during this construction season. Public Works downtown, we've invested in a new street sweeper, and we're estimating to be spending $250,000 there. Public Works and safety for pedestrians. We invest $200,000 annually on sidewalks, and this is the 125 bridge being laid down this January that I mentioned earlier. Buildings and grounds, city maintains 11 buildings totaling over 380,000 square feet, including police, fire, city hall, library, public works, and the community center. 5 city parks, 3 pools with 4 actual pools. In 3 pool sites, 4 actual pools. 50 landscaping sites with 25 acres worth of mowing, and $850,000 fiscal year 2016 operating budget for buildings and grounds. What you're going to see happening this summer, this is an actual architectural drawing going from 1903 of the City Hall Annex project, and it's going to be a goal to try to recreate that facade as much as possible. Wastewater. City provides service to over 5,600 metered connections, 85 miles of piping, 28 pump stations, a $6.8 million operating budget, and a $7.1 million capital improvement budgets. And as you can see, our sewer rates are extremely competitive and stable. There is some interesting things you've been reading about discharge permits, about the possibility of having to expend as much as $20 million on our sewage treatment facility. Actually, I'm not supposed to say sewage, I'm supposed to say wastewater. When I started when I started out, it was a sewage treatment plant. Now it's the wastewater treatment facility. We have been able, through good, solid management, to bring our nitrogen effluent down to almost 3%. It's been, and David Green, our chief operator, came up with the idea of using pickle juice. So we've been accepting the pickle juice from Pilgrim Foods. We've been solving their problem for what they're going to do with the pickle juice, and we've been reducing our nitrogen outflows. What's interesting, many of our surrounding communities have been really squeezed by EPA over their discharges, and some of them have been already forced to start to making very expensive capital improvement projects. The quality of our management of that facility has given us a lot of breathing room. We probably, this is bragging, but we probably have one of the finest operations going, and they're sort of using us as a model, and that really goes to the leadership of the chief operator, David Green there. As you can see down at the bottom, the net gain has been an 85% nitrogen reduction over the last 2 years, and that's totally with managing the input. And this just gives you an idea of the drop in the nitrogen discharge since 2014, and that's without investing $20 million. And this is the optimizing in working, and you can see a noticeable reduction in the discharge into the river. I've got to move through this. So, and I've already mentioned, if you see it in the bottom, the federal EDA grant to extend water on Salmon Falls Road and Milton Road. Okay, let's move on. This isn't on the slide.
I'll take a picture.
No. This is just an aside. We're talking about growth. and we invest millions of dollars in growth. Not only does the city finance an economic development office, and has been for years, and the economic development office goes out there and it pulls in people. We want Saffron to come in. And now we're bringing in the Route 11 development, which is really, folks, in its infancy. If you see the $34 million new construction figure I showed you earlier, that's not, I mean, that's a very small part of it. That's really just starting. But here's my basic point, and I got the recreation slide up. We're going to have bumps along the way. Growth is messy. If you think of when a human being grows, it goes through adolescence, it's messy. It's awkward. There's going to be times when it's not, you're going to, it's not going to quite be right yet because you have to adjust to it. And so we're talking in my office, we're going to have traffic on Route 11. What are we going to do about it? You want that problem. You want to have traffic on Route 11. I jokingly say this, but I'm deadly serious. I want a parking problem downtown. That's what we want, folks. That's what. And if you don't want it, stop spending all this money to make it happen. So there are good problems, and this recreation slide made me think of it. Our recreation programs are up. You won't see this in the Department of Commerce stuff, but this is the kind of stuff I look for, which tells me, are we growing and what are the effects? And when Chris Bowman comes to me and says, I've got far more kids than I ever thought. So it's a sign that we are prospering and that we are and that we are growing. So there are good problems. So let me move on. Boy, my computer got way ahead of my paper. There we go. So, and you can see from the ice arena rentals way up. Fire department. When I was talking to my departments, I wanted to give them all a little bit of equal time. So you can see our call volume is up slightly, but it is up from going from 2003 up to 2015.